In this episode, we'll cover the 5 WordPress SEO tips that you can do to increase your website traffic. Now, you might have heard that experts say that WordPress is SEO friendly, and this is actually why a lot of people choose to use WordPress to start their blog or website. And while WordPress does make sure that the code that it generates follows all SEO best practices, there are still some things that you'll need to do to maximize your SEO efforts. So let's dive in. One of the first things you want to do is check your site's visibility settings. WordPress comes with a built-in option that lets you hide your website from search engines. And this is perfect if you're just starting to set up your website. You don't want search engines to start showing your site to public if it's not quite done. But sometimes you might forget to uncheck this. So let's go in and make sure that this is not checked. From your WordPress dashboard, head over to Settings. Let's go to Reading and scroll all the way down until you see Search Engine Visibility. You want to make sure that this is not checked. If it is checked, go ahead and uncheck it, save changes. The next step is you want to use SEO-friendly URL structure in WordPress. In other words, you want your website address whenever you're writing your blog post to be informative, that people know what this is about rather than some jumbled numbers in the area. So for instance, you know better that this is about a reading progress bar in WordPress posts versus some P equals 198 or something like that. So this setting in WordPress is called the permalink, and you want to make sure that that is set up in a better way. You can check on this by going to your WordPress dashboard. You can go under settings, and we're looking for permalinks. So from here, you have several that you can choose from. If you've just installed WordPress, a lot of times the plain one is what's selected, and that is really not great for SEO. That's why we recommend at least doing the post name. Post name is great because it brings in the title of your post, just like what I showed you here, where this is the title in my URL slug, and people know what that is about better than anything else. Once you select a new one, then come down and make sure you save changes. Now, a huge note with this, if you're just getting started and you don't have a whole lot of blog posts, this is perfect for you to do. If, though, you've had your website set up for, say, longer than 6 months, you have traffic coming to your website, you really don't want to change the permalink structure unless you have a full-blown process in place on how you're going to update that. Because once you update these, that basically is the equivalent of telling Google that all those old pages are missing or gone, and now you have all these new pages that you need to rank. So we don't recommend you doing this if you already have a website that has been running for a while and SEO is just going to start working on its own. It's an ongoing process, and you just have to keep up with it to get the most results of it. On top of that, SEO plugins, they allow you to add the title, the description, and focus keyword of every blog post on the page. And it'll also show you a preview of what the user will see when they look at your site. So we recommend that you optimize the title and the description to get maximum clicks on your site. I'll show you how you can do this, again, with all-in-one SEO. If you go to any of your blog posts that you're writing, when you're in there, you're editing, there's a few things that you can see. First off, when you have it installed, you get your snippet preview. This gives you an idea of what it will look like. You can add your focus key phrase. So what are you looking to rank for in Google? Add that here. If you have other phrases to do, add those here, and it'll give you an idea. If you want to edit this area, just click edit the snippet, and it'll bring up this whole area. So this gives you a snippet preview. So that also means this is what it will look like in Google search results. So does the title look good? Do you like it? You can change this out. It is appending the dash in my blog here. So if you don't like that, you can remove that. It's also pulling in the post excerpt. You can see that it is a little bit too long, so it's cutting it off. You can change that out and custom fill that in with your own information if you want. You can also take a look and see what will it look like on mobile. Does it look okay? Do you think that your viewers would think that it looks good? Closing that out, we also can scroll down and see some other things. So this is also the post title, and this is the meta description, key phrase, everything that you want to look at to make sure it looks good. If you're going to share this on social, this will give you an idea of what will it look like when you share it to, say, Facebook. This is the Facebook preview. Same thing with Twitter. Gives you a Twitter preview. I don't have an image on here, so that's why it's not pulling anything in. A lot of the things that you can do to make sure once you've written your blog post, how it's going to look and how it's going to perform in search engines. You want to make sure that you're highlighting areas that link to other blog posts on your site and that you're adding a link to that. You can just go in there and start typing it in, find the relevant blog post that you're talking about, click on it, and then add the link. This is perfect for helping Google know what your website is about. It also lets them know what other pages they can crawl on your site, but it's also helpful for readers on your site. If they see something and they link to something more interesting that they're reading about, then that helps them as well. It should be one of the last things that you do when you're writing your blog post. So when you write the blog post, make sure that in that blog post you have at least 1 to 3 initial interlinks to previous blog posts. And then you'll also want to, after you publish that blog post, go to previous blog posts and add a link to that new blog post. Very helpful in doing this interlinking to help boost your page views, increase the time that users spend on your site, and then ultimately will improve the SEO for individual blog posts and pages on your site. Very crucial thing. And you can even set it up like a game where you're setting yourself a timer. How many can you get through in each day or each week? Do that for your site. Do you have comments on your site? You can optimize WordPress comments because they're a strong indicator of user engagement on your website. Engaged users just mean more links back to your site. You get more traffic and improved SEO. You should have a fast WordPress hosting provider like SiteGround or Bluehost. After that, you need to install a caching plugin, something like WP Rocket that handles a lot of the technical aspects of optimizing your website for you with just installing it and activating it. The next thing you want to do is look at something like optimizing images in WordPress for SEO. If you have an image heavy website, you really need to look at ways to reduce the size of those images. One of the biggest things you can do is scale the images down to what the size is that is acceptable for your theme. We cover details on this on optimizing images for the web. You can find it in the description below, but it's its own beast that you want to deal with. Keeping your images as small and compact as you can will really help to speed up your site. You also want to make sure when you're uploading the images that you're using descriptive titles in the file name. So when you're uploading it, it's not just img001.jpg. It's actually describing what that image is about. That helps when it uploads. You can also make sure that you add alt tags and descriptive titles with your images, and that will also help out with SEO. And then if you're a photographer or if you just add a ton of images to your site, then we would recommend using something like Envira Gallery. It is a plugin, and in speed tests that we have done, we found that it's the fastest gallery plugin out there. You can check our link in the description below on what we've set up and what we came up with. Now let's talk about security and safety for your WordPress website. Each week, Google blacklists around 20,000 websites for malware and around 50,000 for phishing. And a lot of times these aren't done because you did anything yourself. It's because somebody has hacked into your site and installed this stuff on your site. And then you won't know until Google has, taken your site off of the internet. So it means that security of your WordPress site is crucial for good rankings. And it also is crucial for your visitors. You don't want them to install malware just by visiting your site as well. The good news is you don't have to do any of this yourself. We use at WP Beginner Security to protect our website against attacks, and that's also why we'll recommend this service. You can check out a case study of how they helped us block 450,000 WordPress attacks in 3 months as well. The next thing you want to do is you want to start using SSL/HTTPS. That just means when you come up to your website, you see a little padlock here. That is crucial to let Google and people who are browsing your site know that it is secure. That means what the person is seeing on their browser, they're connecting to your website securely, and nobody else is seeing what is going on with that. The technology, which is the secure socket layer, it's a technology that encrypts that connection between the user's browser and your server. So everything is private between you and that person. Plus, it's a requirement if you're running an e-commerce store. So if you're setting up a store, you definitely want to make sure that you have installed an SSL. And by default, most of the web hosting companies like SiteGround or Bluehost, they automatically come with a free SSL certificate. I've also done a full detailed video on how to install SSL for your site, so you can check that out in the description below if you haven't done that yet. And then if you want a premium wildcard SSL certificate, than just a regular one with security warning and things like that, then we would recommend going through domain.com to get your SSL certificate. Some of the premium ones, they come with security warranties up to, say, 1.75 million in security warranty. You also get a trust logo site seal to display on your site for added credibility. And like I said, those are more for if you're setting up an e-commerce store. I know we've covered a lot. There are also some best plugins and tools that you want to use on your site. Syed and I covers the best tools, WordPress SEO plugins and tools that you should use. You can check out that link in the description below. Great. Now that we've covered the 5 WordPress SEO tips, which one are you going to pick to work on right now? And thanks for watching.